Congratulations, you've just found the #1 over 50 health and wellness podcast on the planet. Hello and welcome to the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert and founder of the Silver Edge, and I am on a mission to help men and women just like you build lean, strong, healthy, capable bodies they love for the rest of their lives. Okay, folks, listen up. This episode is for the guys. Now, ladies, you're more than welcome to stick around. Perhaps our discussion today will apply to your husband or other important men in your life. But just a heads up, folks, that this is going to be a manly episode, and we'll be discussing all things masculinity and mojo in this episode. So just because you're a guy in your 50s or 60s doesn't mean you have to resign yourself to a lifetime of beer bellies and Viagra. There is no reason why you can't be as strong and vital, that you can't or shouldn't have a raging libido, or that you can't step into your true masculine energy. And that's what this episode's all about. Joining me today as co-host is Silver Edge Super Coach Russell Medeiros, and we are going to dive deep into what it takes to get your mojo back after 50. In other words, we're going to help you develop your alpha edge. So suck in that gut, stick out that chest, and let's dive into today's episode. Okay, folks, before we jump into today's episode, I've got something I'm so excited to share with you. As you're going to hear towards the end of this episode, I've been hard at work these past few months on creating a men's group called the Alpha Edge that is not only a step-by-step blueprint for torching belly fat, building muscle, and reclaiming your mojo, but it's a community where us men can come together and embrace and step into our truest, most authentic masculine energy. So I'm not going to talk too much about what that is here. You'll get the gist of the program by the end of this episode, but I want to let you know that we are doing a pre-launch for this group this week. So if you are listening to this between the dates of February 19th and February 26th, and you're interested in becoming a founding member, this is your chance to get in. The cost of the program is $47 a month, but for this week only, you can get in for 50% off. Just make sure you use the coupon code ALPHA50 at checkout. That's ALPHA50, ALPHA50 at checkout, all run together. So if you want to go from out of shape, frustrated, and insecure to a lean, strong, confident, badass man, then the Alpha Edge membership is for you. Head over to the show notes for this episode or to silveredgefitness.com for more information and get signed up. Okay, enough of that. Let's get on with today's show. All right, Coach Russell, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Yeah, brother, it's been a minute, hadn't it? I don't think we've recorded a podcast episode together in a little while. So what's been going on lately?
Not much. Just being basketball coach dad and
right on. Love
helping the kids, 2 boys, trying to raise 2 young men, and
Yes,
the
sir.
task in itself.
That most certainly is. Yeah. It's going to be relevant here in this conversation. Tell people what you're up to podcast-wise, man. I think that's something that's new, right, since the last time we recorded. I know it was, I think, just launching probably the last time we talked, but go ahead and give a plug for your new podcast, man.
Yeah, thank you. I started this podcast. I'm a single dad, divorced, custody of my kids, and my thing was that there's no one to talk to. Men, we just bury our feelings into a pillow and go from there.
Yep.
And then you kind of feel like you're alone on an island and you don't know what to do. You're leaving a 3,400 square foot home, 5 bedrooms, to a crappy little 2-bedroom apartment in the hood. And you're like, oh my God, I'm in my 40s and I just hit the reset button. So I just learned a lot of stuff over the 8 years I've been separated, and I want to help share that with other people. I also interviewing other dads and throughout the country, getting their stories, their wins, their losses, and hopefully somebody can take something from this, and just trying to start a community like that of just different ideas to help dads out. So that's what I'm trying to do, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man, I love it. So a community of single dads is what you got going. What's the name of the podcast? How can people find it?
It's Dad's Road to Recovery, and it's
Dad's
on
Road to
Spotify,
Recovery.
YouTube, things
all
like
the places, Apple Podcast, I'm sure, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, those of you out there, anybody out there that happens to be a single dad or anybody who knows a single dad, point them there. That's Coach Russell's project. I love that you are creating a community around that. So, best of luck with all of that. And I think that dovetails nicely into what we were going to talk about today, right? You're talking about, hey, I'm trying to raise some young men here. I'm trying to build a community. Sometimes us guys, we're guilty of just sort of burying anything that's emotionally vulnerable in the least, right? So,
Mm.
we're going to talk a little bit about that. And let me start here, Russell. I'm going to pose this as a question. I was going to make a statement, but let me make it a question first, because it seems to me that this is absolutely true. I think we have a manliness crisis in the world today. In other words, we have a masculinity crisis. Yeah, yes, no, maybe. What's your take on that?
Definitely, definitely have
Definitely. All right.
a
So we're on the same
crisis.
page
Yeah.
there. Yeah. It's a crisis. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I preach it often with men that I'm involved with. Like, there used to be a standard we hold ourselves up to just to keep ourselves going, and it seems to be falling apart. And
Does
so,
seems to be eroding. Yeah, it certainly
yeah.
does. Yeah, I mean, our culture, I think, has kind of attacked masculinity. I think we all remember here, it was not that long ago where we had the full on toxic masculinity, and it was creeping into things like, Gillette shaving cream. Some of their advertisement was kind of playing, 'cause it was playing big in the culture then. And it just seems like masculinity, manliness, and some of these traits, and we're gonna circle back to this, but it just seems like they've kind of fallen out of favor. They're no longer cool, if you will. And it's not necessarily PC, politically correct, to embrace your masculinity as men. It's not politically correct to just embrace some of these more manly sort of ideals. And what I want to do is I want to start here when we talk about the crisis of manliness, the crisis in masculinity, and dudes our age, specifically guys in their 50s and 60s, losing our mojo. I'm going to talk about, I want this podcast to be, how do we get that? How do we reclaim that mojo? How do we step into our most authentic masculine selves? But I want to start the conversation here because usually when we say masculinity or manliness, most of us, our minds go immediately to testosterone. So let's start with testosterone, because obviously testosterone is the main hormone that we associate with masculinity. And I think that most people have this almost cartoonish idea, or our culture has this cartoonish idea of what testosterone is, right? It's kind of like this overly muscled brute who's not very intelligent and he's mean. That's kind of how we think of testosterone. But know this, testosterone is actually vital for your overall health. It is critical, of course, for sexual drive and sexual function, but it's also very important just for your drive, just dudes to have drive and ambition in their life. It's important for muscle growth, we know, bone health, mood, cognitive function, heart health, certainly, and overall metabolic health. And I think that a lot of times we miss that, right? We think of testosterone and we kind of lump that in with this masculine toxicity kind of nonsense here. But know that testosterone is vital for all of us. Now, Russell, I know you know this, but here's the scary thing. Over the last 50 years or so, testosterone is dramatically declining in our population. In the year 2000, the average guy between 20 and 45 years old had a overall testosterone level of 605. It's nanograms to deciliters, right? But that was the average dude in 2000. And then in 2015, it dropped to 451. So that average went from 605 to 451.
Mm.
And today it's in the low 300s.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's just been this precipitous decline in testosterone in young men. That's 20 to 45-year-olds. That's the population that they're testing there. So we have this decrease in testosterone. And I think that has a lot to do with where we are as a culture in viewing masculinity, viewing manliness, right? We are, as a culture, we're becoming, in a way, biologically less masculine as these
Yeah.
testosterone numbers are dropping and dropping and dropping. And now some people might say, well, that's just a reflection of the culture, and maybe that's a good thing. You don't need as much testosterone as you did 100 years ago, or certainly, back in the olden ages. But yeah, Russell shaking his head no for
Yeah.
those of you that are in audio land. As we just said, testosterone is critical for our overall metabolic health and well-being. So I don't know, Russell, do you have any experience with kind of guys you personally or guys you work with this kind of decreasing testosterone or decreasing masculinity crisis?
Yeah, yeah, a lot of it I mean, we work in a lifestyle business, right? So
Yep.
it has to do with lifestyle. I mean, let's lifestyle and food. Let's just be honest. It's two main things, right? Our grandfathers went to work and used their hands all the time, right? There was no
Right.
computer, there was no
Right.
sitting behind a desk. So what our life evolves to now is sitting behind a car for an hour,
Yeah.
going to work, sitting at a desk for an hour, for hours on end, going home in an hour, after eating, sitting down on the couch, and then we go to bed. So that's our
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
that's, if you probably sum that into a majority of people's lives now.
Yeah.
So, I just think those are the big pillars right there, that
They are the big pillars. And they're things we talk about on the show all the time, right? Cleaning up the diet, eating real whole foods, getting some strength training in, getting, that lifestyle, just being active, getting your steps in, staying hydrated, managing your stress. Stress is a testosterone killer, and so is poor sleep. So if you're not getting healthy sleep, but all these lifestyle things are really, I think, at the root cause of this drop in testosterone. I'll throw one other thing in there that I think is a contributing factor. In fact, I'm sure it is, and that's going to be environmental toxins. So we have all these
oh, yeah,
endocrine
yeah,
disruptors, these estrogen mimickers, all of this crap. And it's in our beauty and hygiene products. It's in the food that we're eating. It's in the water that we're drinking. It's in the air we're breathing. We can't escape it, right? And while we are detox machines, our human bodies are incredible at detoxing. I don't think we can keep up with the onslaught of just this toxic soup that we're basically swimming in day to day. So yeah, I'm with you. I kind of see. I'll tell you this. I have been having more conversations with my male clients ma- around mindset, specifically around developing this more masculine mindset and kind of stepping into that. Whereas a few years ago, it was all just, hey, here's your macros and here's your workout program and how were you sleeping last night. So I've been having these different conversations with some of my male clients talking about, they're very candid about, hey, Kevin, what do you think about testosterone replacement therapy and things like that? And so we have all these conversations around testosterone. But I just wanted to bring out testosterone first because when we talk about masculinity, that's what is usually associated with it for good purpose, right? I mean, testosterone is a key component of being a man. And look, if you're a female listening to this because you love your man, right? And you want to maybe understand this, testosterone is critical for you as well. It's just it is the hormone primarily that makes a man a man. So basically, Russell, I think it comes down to this, right? We talk on this show all the time about, hey, you guys, you should be doing some strength training. You guys should be cleaning up your diet. You should be eating protein. We should be doing all these, should be detoxing your environment, get rid of the crap in your bathroom and your cleaning supplies and swap them out for healthier alternatives. We talk about that ad nauseum, right? We've covered that in detail over and over again, and we'll continue to beat that drum, I suspect, on this podcast. But today, what I want to do is I want to talk more about mindset. I mean, look, you're not going to reclaim your mojo without cleaning up your biology, your lifestyle, the things that you had mentioned, right? Getting off the couch and getting some exercise, eating real good, clean food. But I want to talk about how do we get our mojo back, right? Because as guys, we're like Austin Powers, we lost our mojo, right? And I think our culture tells us that that's inevitable. It's a part of aging, that beer bellies and Viagra, that's just our new reality. And I want to call complete and total bullshit on that. I think that as men, our libido is declining, our testosterone is tanking, our beer bellies and man boobs and things like that are coming on, not because we're aging, but because of our lifestyle. Look, if you're a dude listening to this and you're in your 50s and your 60s, you're too young for that. Maybe in your 70s, 80s, 90s, I don't know, at some point, nobody wins against the game of Father Time, but it's not now, not in your 50s and 60s. Would you agree with that, Russell, that we can still be as strong, vital, and have full mojo in 50s and 60s?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I've seen it happen. It happens to me. I'm feel like I'm better off now than I was in my 30s, 20s.
100%. Yeah.
You know?
Well, I will say the same for me, right? I've told my story here on this podcast a couple of different times, but in my mid 40s, sometime I just crash and burn with my health. My testosterone was basically non-existent. I actually
Yeah.
had full blown erectile dysfunction, just in a nightmare of a place. If you're a dude, I mean, that's about as bad and as dark as things get.
Mhm.
And at the time, there was just this sort of feeling that that's just what happened as you got old, right? And that's just it was this downhill thing, and that the cure would be little blue pills or going on testosterone or something like that. Now it turns out I managed to turn things around dramatically just through lifestyle changes. I was doing everything the exact opposite of the way I should. So I'm with you. I think that as 50, 60-year-old men, not only can we be, but we have a spiritual and moral responsibility to fully be present as men, to be strong, to be healthy, to be vital, all of that. So I'm going to kind of switch our focus with the caveat that we've got to take care of our bodies. If you got extra fat, guys, we got to get rid of that. We got to build some muscle. We want to do all the biological things that we can in order to increase our testosterone. But I want to spend the rest of our time here talking about how we can unapologetically show up as our most vital selves in our lives, how we can step into and embrace our masculinity, how we can have healthy, raging libidos. And we should, guys. I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a healthy, raging libido, that's a red flag. And that we should be able to make whatever decade of life we're in the absolute most amazing decade ever. Again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about lifting weights and eating real food and getting plenty of sleep and detoxing, because all that's critical, and know that that's table stakes for the mindset piece we're getting ready to talk to. But
It,
go ahead.
I was going to say, if I could, I think a lot of it is just finding purpose. You know, I've thought about this over and over again. Usually in our 40s, we're kind of into our careers already.
Right.
We're probably cruising along with that. We've been married, cruising along with that, children cruising along with that. We kind
Kids.
of
Yeah.
lose that purpose that we've had, whether it be hobbies, exercise, taking care of yourself. And I think that's a major thing that we lose. And then if, we tell people all the time, exercise, exercise. Well, I mean, if we look up right now, there's 8,032 ways of exercising,
Yeah.
and we don't know which
Right.
one works for us, right? So
Yeah.
we just
It'd be a
wander
little
around
overwhelming.
somewhere and look to lift something, and we're not having a purpose again, So I think that's a major issue.
Yeah, we're going to let's put a pin in purpose, because we're definitely coming back to that. I 100% agree with you that we have lost our purpose. 100%. I think that has a lot to do with our mojo as well. But I want to kind of talk about some tips for, speaking of purpose, for regaining your mojo, for developing what I'm going to call an alpha edge mindset. I want to start here. I want to state that being a sexy, confident, badass 50 or 60-year-old man is more than having just a lean, strong, healthy body. It's more than being able to pick up your grandkids and play with them. All that's important. But it's also having that confident, positive, masculine, and resilient mindset. This is a mindset that accepts responsibility, one that embraces its challenges instead of shrinking away from them. And I will say that having an alpha edge mindset is what gives you swagger. It's what gives you mojo. It keeps you motivated, and it keeps you in the game, right? It gives you that purpose that you're talking about, Russell. And it's what gets you that promotion at work. It's what creates harmony in your home. It's what allows you to have rock star sex with your wife on a regular basis. Basically, that mindset is the magical ingredient to regaining your mojo. You agree with that kind of
No, I agree.
statement, that mindset has
Yes,
got that much impact on things?
100%. 100%.
100%.
I coach kids basketball, and I say, they get down and out, and I'm like, hey, you're not going to win unless you have that winner's mentality, right? Like,
Right?
they
Yeah,
could be down 30. You better walk that second half and walk out there proud, lift the
that's
head up.
right. Yeah,
And,
head high. Yep.
it's amazing. We come back, and I'm like, it's because you did that. It has nothing to do with your basketball skills. It's all
Right.
mindset,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah. Their basketball skills did not magically change in the 10 minutes at halftime, right? It's 100% that mindset. Yeah. So I think that gets lost a lot. And you gave a good example of a dude who's, especially in our 40s, right? as men, I think that's where this mindset, this killer mindset, this masculine alpha edge type mindset starts to deteriorate. We are wrapped up in career, we are wrapped up in family, and we're providers for our family, and all that's good and well. But somewhere along the way, as we start to roll into our 50s, into our 60s, we're starting to become softer, and that's what I want to kind of address here from a mindset purpose. So, Russell, let's see, what do I have? I've got one, two, three, four things I want to talk about when it comes to regaining your mojo and developing this alpha edge mindset. Number one, I believe that all of us dudes should embrace extreme ownership of everything in our lives. And I mean everything. No more victim mentality. I think us dudes need to be responsible for all aspects of our health, all aspects of our life. I don't think our doctor or government or society, anybody's in charge of our health. I think that's our responsibility. I think we are responsibility for our work. I think we're responsible for our marriages and our relationships with our kids, our relationships with our grandkids, our relationships with God. I think we need to accept extreme ownership for everything in our life, good, bad, and ugly. You with me on that?
How are you going to get better unless you accept that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like, if I walk around saying I split up with the kid's mom because it was all her fault, how's that helping me? That obviously I had
Yeah,
something to do with it.
yeah,
So I got to
yeah.
come away and be like, what did I do, and how am I going to correct that and make it better? So, uh, but in every aspect, whether job, family, all that, religion, everything you were talking about, yes, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I see this in men that are not, that have completely lost their mojo. They seem beaten down by life. They've got this
Yeah,
victim mentality. Look, I'm not saying bad shit has not happened to you or is happening to you. I mean, we're at the age where a lot of us are, we're losing parents, and I mean, your life circumstances might be extremely difficult. Maybe you grew up in some horrible circumstances. I'm still saying that you own that, right? You
yeah,
are the owner, the CEO of your mindset, of your body, of your life, of all aspects. And having that kind of, oh, woe is me, poor me, these things happen to me mentality is not a way to regain your mojo. It's a quick way for it to evaporate very, very quickly. So I think number one, I like that idea of we are starting today. If you were looking to get your mojo back, the first thing I would do is take inventory in my life and say, okay, where am I not showing up as 100% the boss, the owner? Am I showing up in my relationship? Am I showing up for myself, my body, my self-care? When it comes to discipline, going to the gym, when it comes to the foods that I eat for my body, for crying out loud, I am the owner of that. So I think we're going to start there, right? We're going to say, dudes, if you want to get your mojo back, if you want to develop an alpha edge mindset, you got to accept responsibility without judgment. I mean, you are where you are right now. That's fine. We're all going to meet ourselves with grace and love right where we are, but we're going to take full ownership going forward from today on. Right. All right.
yes.
Number two, Russell, you'll like this one because you already brought it up. I'm a big fan of embracing your purpose.
Mm.
So, yeah, I'm just going to piggyback kind of on what you said there. I think that, there's some men who already know their purpose and they're walking it out every single day. Hats off to those dudes. But man, I see so many guys out there that have no clue what their purpose is. They're just
Yeah.
kind of going through the motions, almost like you mentioned, right? I got a job. I'm bringing home a paycheck. I got my family. I'm just kind of in this rut. This is what I do. And I don't see men lit up, fired up, and really knowing what their purpose is. And now I'll say this. I mean, I've had this conversation with guys as well, guys that don't know what their purpose is. And they're like, I don't know what my purpose is. Why am I here on this earth? And how would I identify and honor my purpose, my calling? And my advice is pretty simple. It would be, hey man, what lights you up? What are you most passionate about? What brings you the most joy? And I don't mean happiness in the superficial way that maybe buying a new sports car or something would. I think that's more superficial and transient. But I'm talking about what brings you this like soul filling, lasting joy. What's that thing? What's that fire inside of you? And I would say that is your gift to this world. And I would say you have a spiritual responsibility to share it. That's your purpose. Go find what that is. It doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be grand, but how are you contributing? What are you giving? What is your purpose in life? And look, that's a deep question, right? I think a lot of us could do a lot of soul searching there to understand, hey, what is my purpose? And am I really walking that out? And if I'm not, how could I make changes by accepting full ownership of my life and stepping into this? And Russell, to your point, I do I think that it's really easy to get sucked into, the demands and the drudgery of the day-to-day routine and lose sight of your purpose. Lord knows I've been in that camp almost my entire, this is the new 2.0 Kevin that's talking about, hey, find your passion and embrace it. I certainly lived most of my adult life without any clue of why I was here, what I was put on this earth for, and just kind of going through the motions and frankly miserable a lot of the time. And it seems to me a lot of men are going through life without discovering or walking out their purpose, and that's truly heartbreaking. See the same thing on your side
all,
that just dudes not getting it done.
all the time, all the time. And it's the funny thing you mentioned about the sports car. It's not getting the sports car; it was the journey to get there that most you find most fulfilling, right? Because
Right.
once you get the
Yeah, that's a
sports
good
car,
point.
you're like,
Yeah.
all that journey's done. All right, now I got to find a new journey, right? To get,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I find it with just we lose all that. We lose our hobbies, or you know, you can find purpose in hobbies and jobs and children and all that stuff.
Right.
But we do lose that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, our culture's set up that we're going through the steps and things. Life can get kind of stale sometime. And certainly I'm guilty of that myself. I have to pull
Yeah, me too.
myself out of a rut. And I tell you, it's, any growth or all growth, I'll say, is uncomfortable. It means growing by its very definition is stepping outside of a comfort zone. Nothing really phenomenal, great, or good comes out of you staying in your comfort zone. It's as dudes, as we're stepping out and embracing challenges. And we're getting ready to talk about my point number 3, where we're going to bring this up even more. But yeah, I'm a big fan of taking that extreme ownership for everything in your life and then really digging in, discovering your purpose, knowing why you're here, and then authentically stepping into that and walking that out. And for me, of course, it has led to a career change in my life. 22 years with the same company doing tech sales, and now I'm doing something completely different, and I'm walking on this new path. But I tell you, since I have made this switch, because I felt called, I was like, and I mean that in the very deepest spiritual sense. I was called to do this, and now that I'm walking in alignment with that purpose, my life is clicking in ways it certainly wasn't before. I wake up every morning fired up and ready to go. I mean, I'm excited to get up and go. Now, look, I'm a fitness entrepreneur, and it is a grind some days. I'm not saying I love all of it. There's days when I feel like I'm going to throw up because I have so much to do. There's days when I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pay my coaches. I'm like, oh crap, and cash flow is completely gone to hell in a handbasket. I mean, there are days when it looks like from the outside that I'm not living my most true, authentic, purpose-driven lives, but I'm here to tell you that I am. That challenge while I'm in it certainly isn't fun, but at the end of the day, there's something so rewarding about doing what I feel like I was put here to do. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, it does.
Yeah, I want that for for other men. So that's what I'll say about purpose. If you don't know your purpose, dig into that. Start with what you're passionate about and figure out, hey man, how can I share my passion with the world, big or small? I think that's a good starting place. All right, Russell. So we are talking about ways for dudes to get their mojo back, develop this alpha edge mindset. I'm getting ready to go hard, buddy, on the masculinity thing. I think as men, we've lost our masculinity, and I think we need to embrace that. I think we need to step into our masculinity. I think our culture's at war with masculinity, and I think it's doing its best to demonize masculinity and traditional masculine virtues. But I will say this, dudes, if you want to develop an alpha edge mindset, it's critical that we embrace our true masculine natures. Let's just take a look at some of the more traditional characteristics of masculinity. First up, I think physical strength. I think
Yes.
emotional restraint, independence, competitiveness is a big one, self reliance. being dominant, being aggressive, being tough, being assertive, being risk taking, focused on achievement, focused on winning, honor, integrity, being a provider. I think those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about, at least when I say traditional sort. And look, it's not traditional masculinity and new masculinity. Masculinity is masculinity. It's culture that keeps shifting. Masculine is this, it's the same thing, right? So I want to be clear about that. But I'd also say, dudes, if any of you out there just heard that list of words and a few of them make you feel uncomfortable or feel triggered. So when I say words like aggressive, dominant, assertive, competitive, winning, know that that's likely your cultural conditioning speaking to you. Know that there's an appropriate time and a place for these attributes. And a
Yeah.
truly masculine man, a truly masculine dude understands this, and he knows when to apply compassion, and he knows when it's time to take a stand and fight for what he believes in. I'll say, look at it this way. 100% of the dudes watching this, or ladies, if you're here watching this with us as well, you're only here because at some point in some distant past, one of your male ancestors asserted their masculine energy to ensure the passing on of his genes. But I'll go on kind of this rant and say that most of us, let's see, I'll say this. Most of us don't really need to call on what I'm going to say that darker side of masculinity is very often. So when I say aggression or dominance or things like that. So most of us in today's modern world, we're not really called to physical violence unless you're, obviously we have the military and first responders. That might be a little different for you, but most of us, Russell, to your point, we sit in our cars and we drive to our work, and we sit behind computers, and then we go home and sit on our couches, right? But even though embracing your masculine energy may not call for things like physical violence, and that's probably a good thing, but I think that masculine energy is all about having the fortitude to do difficult things, to make tough decisions, to stand up for your beliefs. And look, masculine men should be strong, tough, and assertive. Don't get me wrong here. And they should be also capable of expressing feelings. They should be capable of loving deeply. So I strongly encourage men to step into their masculine energy. And I want them to carry that masculine energy into all the areas of their life. I want you to carry that into your work, into your social life, into your family, into your bedroom. And I'll finish by saying this. I think that as men, specifically men in our age demographic, 15, 60-year-olds, I think we need to be good stewards of masculinity. I think we need to be good models of masculinity, especially for the younger generation, right? Our sons, our grandsons that are coming up. And I'll say this as well. I'll say that I think we need to be masculine role models for our daughters and our granddaughters as well, to show them what masculinity looks like in a loving, compassionate, but still truly masculine way. Russell, is just an old man yelling at the kids to get off my lawn, or what do you think here when it comes to that sort of a take on masculinity?
I think you were pointing out toward the end, it's a balance, right? It's not
Yep.
I'm running around clubbing people over the head all day, but what it looks like to me is, again, I have two boys. I show them a lot of love, a lot of physical love, holding, touching, kissing them. I'm very physical with them that way, but I also exude this energy where I've had where other men said, I know not to mess with your kids because it's going to be a bad day for me.
Right.
But I'm not I'm not trying to project that. It's just, that's the attitude I carry, and it's a balance. It's a fine balance. Right. So I
It
think a
is.
lot of people, when they think of masculinity, we think of the club over the shoulder, walking around, like you said, caveman, ooh,
Right. Right.
clubbing people. I think you brought in emotional, would you say
Sure.
emotional
Emotional resilience and
resilience?
being unafraid, emotional
Yeah.
bravery, courage, right? To step into
Yes.
that. That's
Yeah.
that's absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of it just has to do with a look. I'll tell you this quick thing. There was a study. So I'm a retired cop. There's a study. They've interviewed hundreds of cop killers, and they asked, what made you think that you could take this cop on and handle him, right? And a lot of it had to do with physical appearance, right? They didn't look like they can handle themselves. Number one, they were either overweight or out of, some look of out of shape. And another one was the way they carried themselves was with the uniform, right? The shirt was untucked. This was off. Even the slightest little things sometimes, and it just made a whole lot of sense because every time I got pulled over by a cop when I was young, and he came squared away. I mean, the hat was perfect. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh God, I didn't even do
yeah,
anything wrong. I maybe, rolled through a stop sign, but I was under the assumption I was going to get charged for murder. The way he
yeah,
came up, I was like, God. And then others, I didn't have a care in the world and I couldn't figure out why. And I'm like, oh, because they didn't look like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I would say, yeah, they hadn't fully stepped into their masculine energy and they weren't projecting it. I think
yeah,
that certainly is fair. Look, all of us can relate to that, looking at another male man and kind of making that value judgment. Hey, is this somebody that I'd want to mess with or not? And usually it has less to do with the physical appearance. I mean, that's a part of it certainly, but it has a lot to do with how that man carries himself, how confident that man shows up in life. And and like I said, I think that masculinity carries into all areas of our life. It's we think a lot about, like we said, we talk a lot about masculinity. We think about testosterone and sexual function, and clearly that's critical. But when we show up as truly authentic guys, we're better in all areas of our life. It's kind of like my pitch for why you should invest in self-care, man or woman, right? You should you should not take the time, you should make the time to prioritize your health. And you should guard that ferociously. You should eat in ways that honor your body and your body composition goals. You should exercise likewise. You should clean up your mindset. You should sleep and deal with stress so that you show up as the most authentic you in all of the areas of your life. If you're a dude and you do all of those things, you're a better dad, you're a better husband, you're a better worker, you're a better boss, you're a better employee, you're a better friend, you're a better man all the way around. And I would go so far as to say that if you did all of those things, that's great. But if you didn't have that mindset, that alpha edge mindset, you're leaving a lot off the table there. I mean, yeah, you can be physically healthy, but you can be emotionally weak. You can be spiritually weak. You can be morally weak. You can be mentally weak. And as men, I think we need to step up and fill that void because we are backsliding, as we said, in that area, in that mindset area. And certainly we're backsliding when it comes to, I think that one of the biggest traits of a masculine man is strength. And I mean that in the classic sense of you should be strong. You should be able to lift heavy shit if you're a man, if you're a masculine man. We should all be working on that. But I mean it also in the sense that we should be strong mentally, spiritually, emotionally. We should have the strength of our convictions, and we should carry that into all of the areas of our life. So there you go. There's my there's my pitch on why we should develop as a part of getting our mojo back is really re-examining our relationship with masculinity and stepping into that. I think that even though our culture says that's not what it wants, I think that's what it wants. I definitely think that's what it needs. I think that's what your family needs. I think that's what your neighbors need. I think that's what your church needs. I think that's what your community needs is you to step into your authentic masculine self and bring that energy everywhere you go.
yeah, 100%.
Can
It's
I get an amen, brother?
you definitely can. Amen.
There
It's
you
a
go.
lot. It's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but if you uh, the way we coach is take on a task and make it into a habit and
Right.
build
Yep.
off of that, right? And I
Correct.
think that's part of this. This is what we're talking about. Is it's going to take a little bit of work, but you can do it step by step and help
Step by
you.
step is 100% the way to
Yeah.
go. Yeah, like all things health
I think we
related,
fell
whether
apart step by step, right?
we fell apart
We
step by
just didn't
step,
all
we
of a
certainly
sudden
didn't.
just land and say, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
It was step by
Yeah.
step when we fell apart. So
Right on. Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. All right, so we're going a little long here. Let's continue right along. All right, guys, if you want to get your mojo back, you want to develop that alpha edge mindset, we're going to take extreme ownership for everything in our lives, our health, our relationships, everything. We're going to find and embrace our purpose. We're 100% going to step into our full masculinity. And the fourth thing here, Russell, you alluded to this a little bit earlier, is we're going to get in a community of other men. So,
mhm.
guys, I'm thinking no more lone wolf. I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you guys when I say these things. I've been a lone wolf, and that's still my tendency as a kind of an introverted dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what my childhood taught me to completely suppress all of my everything, just bottle everything. But that's my default, and I've worked really hard to get out of that. And I think a big piece of that is being in a community of other like-minded men. The book of Proverbs says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. I'm all about finding a dude, finding dudes, finding a group of men with similar values and goals, and fellowshipping with them. I think that is absolutely huge. I think it gets missed. This is a place where we can be authentic, we can be real, we can be vulnerable, we can have these kinds of conversations with other dudes that are going through the same thing, right? We're, like you
Mhm.
said, Russell, this is a journey. Nobody's going to arrive at their mojo. We're going to, it's a journey. We're going to be reclaiming our mojo probably all our lives. It's again, it's that journey. It's not that destination. Is that fair?
Yes, it is definitely.
Right on, man.
Um, I think, like you said, I tend to have that loner mindset sometimes, and then when I get in a community of, like they always say, you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. You want to be with
100%. Yep.
right, and
Yeah.
it just bounces back off and feeds you. Another thing too is we don't have that. Unlike women, women are more than open to get together, bounce stuff off. We don't generally do that, so it just makes it harder to grow from there if
It does.
we're not, like you said, being a little vulnerable and hey, Kevin, I need a pickup this week. Like I need
Right
I
on.
need
Yeah.
I need a kick in the butt and
Yep.
or
Yeah.
going through this. Oh, I went through that too. Boom.
Yeah.
It works really great.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. Like you, I find that, my tendency again is just push everything down, say I don't need any help. But I
Mhm.
find that when I'm in fellowship with, specifically in this context, with other men, and not just any other men, but other men that are on this same journey, that speak the same language, that have these same goals. It lifts me up. And like you said, it just gives me more energy. It makes me a better man. Iron is sharpening iron there. And that's something that I've slowly learned in my adult life, that because I think that part of my idea of masculinity was never showing weakness. And while there's a component of not being weak in being masculine, there's also a component of having the courage to be vulnerable, to admit weakness, and then to work on that. I think that's where masculinity picks up. Okay, I've got this weakness. I'm going to identify it. That's a vulnerability, right? That's no guy wants to talk about, hey, I'm weak at this, but I'm going to work on it. I'm going to get strong in that thing, and just have that patience to know that this is a journey, right? This is not going to change it overnight. Yeah. Well, Russell, so we got a pretty big announcement here today. Speaking of community and other dudes and getting in a tribe of guys, right? It is official. As of today, we've been working on a top secret product over here at the Silver Edge. We have a new offering called the Alpha Edge membership. Now, I'm going to just do a quick overview of what that is. And I'm going to start here. So this is unlike other products that we have. This is for guys only, right? This is the Alpha Edge membership, and it is a men's fellowship group at its heart. So here specifically is what you're going to get if you decide to join the Alpha Edge membership. So first up, we've got the Alpha Edge Academy, which is a self-paced course. It's got, I think it's 7 modules with close to 30 lessons, maybe 30 something lessons in it. So that's a self-paced course. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. You also are in our Silver Edge coaching app. So this is the app that we use with all our one-on-one clients. So there's all your workouts, your workout history, all of that stuff. We are going to have a private Alpha Edge Army forum. So this is where dudes can come together, lift each other up, share challenges, be vulnerable, all that kind of stuff. We're going to have live weekly coaching calls with Russell and I. And we're also going to have a resource archive. And this will be where all of the additional resources, PDFs, recordings of the live coaching calls, all that kind of stuff lives. So those are the components. That's what's in it. I want to talk a little bit about what's in the Alpha Edge Academy. I put a lot of time into developing a course. So, like I said, it's got 7. This course has 7 modules. They're basically videos of me teaching. We've got the Welcome to the Alpha Edge Academy. So that's all your, hey, this is your getting started. Here's where your resources are. I tell a little bit about my personal story. I kind of share some things vulnerably in there. So that's the first module. The second one is metabolism basics. So there's 6 separate lessons in there. You guys are meant to go through those sequentially. So you go through that first module, I think that's just 3 lessons. You go through the metabolism basics. That's me teaching all the things that dudes need to know about optimizing their metabolism, because this is going to lay the foundation for everything else we're going to do. Next up comes nutrition basics. So once we have a basic understanding of metabolism, and look, it's not nerd school. We're not doing biology or anything like that in metabolism. We're just talking about how to really restore our metabolism so that we can, in fact, be strong, vital men. Next up, we talk about nutrition. If you guys have followed this podcast for a while, you probably have a pretty good idea what's in there, but we have 7 full lessons in there for you guys to really optimize your nutrition. Next up, the next module is exercise basics. So we got 5 modules in there. Talking about strength training basics and progressive overload, programming periodization, cardio, all that stuff you guys need to know. The next module is lifestyle optimization. So there we're going to talk about things like sleep and stress management. We have a whole lesson, a big long lesson on mindset. You guys heard Russell and I talk about that. Really critical for your journey here. We got a lesson on community, a lesson on detoxing your environment. We got a lesson on time management, I think, in there. Next up, we've got the next module is sexual health optimization. Now, there are 5 different lessons in this. So we talk about hormone optimization. We talk about erectile health and performance. We're going to keep it real here, guys. We talk about libido and desire. We talk about sexual confidence and mindset. We talk about intimacy and connection. And now, look, I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now. If I was a dude and I bought this course, I came in, I'm like, nerd stuff, huh? Let's see, metabolism basics, nutrition, exercise. Let me go straight to the sexual health optimization. I want to jump there. While you could do that, this is a self-paced course. You can do whatever you want. I will say this, dudes, if you are looking to up your sexual health game and you join this program, or even if you don't, make sure you're taking care of the basics first. The basics are, hey, do I have good metabolic health? Is my nutrition on point? Is my exercise on point? Is my lifestyle stuff on point? Because that's really the foundation of your sexual health. Yes, we're going to talk about some more advanced things when we get to the sexual health optimization module, but you guys know that without those basics, all the tweaks that you do on sexual health are going to have limited benefit for you there. And then the final module is on reclaiming your mojo. So we're going to put everything we learned together to how do we become complete and total men. So that's what's in the self-paced course. We may add to that over time, but that would be in the self-paced course. Of course, we talked about the coaching app, and that's going to have all of your workouts. In fact, there are, I think as of now, there's over 40 workouts that you guys can choose from. If you're not sure which is the best for you to start, of course, you hop on a live coaching call with me or Russell. We'll get you squared away. You can get into the forum. We do have the forum there, which is exclusive. It's not in Facebook or anything like that. So it's in the app. It's isolated. There's no ads or any weird stuff. We don't have any trolls or anything in there. So it's just us dudes. We got, again, live coaching calls at least once a week. We're going to start weekly here. As this grows, we may add some extra calls in there. And we've got the resource archive. So here's my call to action. If any of that sounds interesting to you guys, I would love for you to join us. I would love for you to come in. I would love for you to commit to working together, to joining a community of like-minded men and work on building your body, building your mindset, stepping into your purpose, stepping into your masculinity. All of that's the kind of stuff that we're working on together. And look, I'm working on it too. I haven't arrived. Russell hasn't arrived. We're there to lead and to guide, but we're also there to learn. We're there to learn from you and to be a part of this community. So if you are interested, you guys, a couple of things you can do. You can go to the show notes for this episode, and you can find those in whatever app you're listening to this on, or you can find them at silveredgefitness.com. Click on the podcast icon. All the show notes will be there. You can go to silveredgefitness.com and click on the coaching tab, and you'll just scroll down. You'll see Alpha Edge membership as a offering there. We are initially offering this at $47 a month. So we'll go ahead and get the price discussion out of the way right there. It's $47 a month to join. It's month to month. You guys, you can cancel anytime you want. There's no contracts. If you absolutely hate it, we'll give you your money back. I don't anticipate that's going to be a problem, but it's risk-free, dudes. If you want to get in, $47, and if you just want to see what it's like, you can come in. Heck, you can come in, pay $47, do the entire course, and then duck out if you wanted to. I would hope you stick around and join us in this community, but that's what it is. Hey, Hey folks, Coach Kevin here. I just wanted to hop in here real quick and let those of you who may have skipped the intro know that we're opening a limited time pre-launch of the Alpha Edge, and you can become a founding member by signing up this week. And as a founding member, you'll get lifetime access to this program for 50% off the regular price. So that's 50% off of $47 a month. And remember, no contracts. You can opt out at any time, but you got to make sure you use coupon code ALPHA50 at checkout. So that's ALPHA50 all run together. Use that at checkout. That'll save you 50% off your monthly charge. And remember, our pre-launch dates are from February 19th to February 26th. After that, we're going to close registration and we'll start a wait list for the next time we open registration. So, Russell, we are getting ready to kick this off. It goes live today. Really excited. What would you say to a dude who's listened to this, or a lady who's actually listened to this all the way through, and she's thinking, this would be a good program for my husband, perhaps? What would you say to a dude that's kind of on the fence, like, I don't know, do I really want to get in a community of other dudes? And is this something I'm interested in? What would you say to that guy to kind of push him over the edge and say, come on, man, let's step out of your comfort zone and get in here and work on yourself?
I think some of the most
with that one. That's a good one.
Yeah,
Huh?
I think some of the most rewarding things I've done were stuff I was on the fence about, right? Like where I'm like, I'm not comfortable with it. You know, I'm already there. Like, I think that's probably my most rewarding stuff is where I actually stepped off the ledge and took a jump. And I think everything that I thought I would get fulfillment out of really never, the fancy car, the things like that wasn't fulfilling. So that would be my big piece of advice. God, I could think of a few things just off my head. Coaching my kids' team, I never really thought I would be good at it, and I actually love it. And I was nervous about it. Just being a fitness coach, right? I was a cop. Right. That's all I know, right? I'm just a cop.
Right.
And
same. Yeah.
all I know, right? And it's probably the most rewarding thing I've done. So,
dude,
it's a one time just to peek your head in the door, see if you like it, give it a try.
Right. Yeah, I love that idea of the best things that have ever happened to me, or at least the biggest growth moments in my life have been when I've been unsure and I just said, you know what, screw it, I'm in. I'm all in. Let's go. Because there's kind of two types of guys, right? There's the guy that's, some dudes listening to this go, oh, hell yeah, I'm in. Let's go. And then there's that guy, I don't know. What are those courses like? Do I really want to talk to other guys and share? Sounds outside of my comfort zone. I could probably find an app with workouts somewhere else. And fair enough, right? So yeah, I would encourage you, if you're on the fence or if you're feeling some trepidation, that's a good thing. That's a good sign. That means you're ready for growth. Something in this conversation has resonated with you and you're like, should I, shouldn't I? Yeah. Russell and I'd love to have you in there. Let's go. If you're interested, have any questions, you can always hit me up as well at coach@silveredgefitness.com. All right, Russell, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your insights, brother. I'm looking forward to this project, working together with you on that. This is something, as you can probably tell, I'm very passionate about. Like I said, I've been having these kinds of conversations with a few of my male clients, and they're my favorite conversations I have, as opposed to, hey man, we're losing some fat and building some muscle and getting stronger. All that's cool, but I really like having these conversations around mindset and men's issues. I want to do more of that. That's why we're doing this. So guys, if you're interested, get inside the Alpha Edge and reclaim your mojo. Ladies, if you're still here, if you've listened to this, hats off to you. Get your hubbies in here. We'd love to have them. We'll whip them in shape. We'll make them better men. We'll make them better husbands. That's our promise to you. All right, guys, that's it. Until next time, stay strong. Okay, that's our show for today, folks. If you folks are interested in the Alpha Edge, you can find that and all of the other information we talked about today in the show notes, and you can find those on whatever app you're listening to this on, or you can head over to silveredgefitness.com/235. As we wrap up our time together today, you can show your support for this show in two important ways. The first is to tell a friend about this podcast and encourage them to give it a listen. The second is for you YouTube folks to click the like and subscribe buttons, and for you podcast folks to please give this podcast a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to podcasts on, and be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today, and until next time, stay strong.